Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting day of music theory. We're going to be talking about articulations today. So we've talked about some other vocabulary related to music, including notes, rests, dynamics, slurs, and ties. But besides that, music is filled with other symbols that tell the performer how to perform each note. So here are some symbols that you will encounter in a lot of your music. So today we're going to sing the scales while performing all of the different articulations. Now, a lot of these we talk regularly about in class, but now it might be putting like a symbol to a vocabulary term or vice versa, okay? So the first is a staccato. A staccato is a dot above or below a note that tells you to sing it short and detached. We do this a lot of time in our warm-ups, but here is a major scale, just do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. And I'm going to sing it as if all of those notes have staccato on them, like this. So it's going to be short and detached. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So there's space in between them and they're short and detached compared to a regular scale, like that would be legato where it's connected. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So I'm singing through each of those notes and all of those notes are connected. The next vocab term that we have is an accent, and there is this symbol right there. You'll notice that it looks almost like a little like decrescendo, right? So, but an accent means something completely different. So if it's above or below a note, that means that you sing that note louder than all of the notes surrounding it. So here's that scale, starting with do right here. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So we use accents a lot naturally in choral music because in regular speech, certain syllables are actually accentuated naturally. So if we, there's always the phrase, put the accent on the right syllable, right? So whenever you have that, if we don't put the accent on the right syllable in our music, it makes the choral music sound weird and the text sound weird. So we naturally do some accentuations, and then at other times, there's going to be accents that are written in by the composer. The next one is a very similar term. It's a fun word to say, sforzando, and that is an SFZ, right? So this is a sudden accent that is stronger than a regular old accent that we just talked about. It means with force or with emphasis. A lot of time, a sforzando is followed by a crescendo, and we sometimes call that like a quote show choir. So that's where we hit something really hard, pull back, and then crescendo again. So a sforzando itself, though, is that initial really hard punch or accent. So if I start saying this scale for number 3 on the sforzandos, it would sound like this. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So it's a very forced or punched accent compared to our regular accent. Then the next one is a tenuto, which is pretty much the polar opposite of a staccato. So tenuto, which is just a straight line, literally means held. The tenuto mark means to hold a note for its entire full value. It is a stress that tells you to kind of lean into the note. So whereas a staccato is really short, a tenuto marks, you're going to make that note as long as you possibly can within the confines of that rhythm. So if I sing it like this, tenutos, I'm going to make it nice and long and kind of lean into it to make it as full of a sound as possible. So here's the number 4. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, right? So you lean into the note and give it a little bit of an emphasis just to make it a really nice and full sound. Not necessarily louder than the surrounding notes, but you kind of just lean into it a little bit, okay? So tenuto, lean, and it's a really kind of as full of a tone as you can have on those tenuto markings. Fermata means that you hold the note longer than its original value. So it kind of looks kind of like an eyeball with an eyebrow above it. So in choral music, that means that you need to watch the conductor, and he or she or they will show you the length of the note within that fermata. So if I were to do number 5, I can hold out that fermata as long as I want. Typically, you hold it out at least 1.5 times its original value. So number 5, do, re, mi, I hold it out for as long as I want. Fa, sol, la, ti. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So you hold the notes out under a fermata as long as the conductor tells you to, or as long as you want to if you're directing yourself. Okay, the last thing you're going to do today is review quickly your different musical markings and terminology that we've talked about before. That includes dynamics, which were talked about in 7.1 in our last chapter that we talked about. And then you also have ties and slurs. So if you need to review that vocabulary, that will be on our knowledge check tomorrow as well with our articulations. So take a moment to circle and identify the markings that are in the music and know not just what they mean, but also the Italian term associated with that. So right here, if I have this double F, I know that means very loud, but I also need to know the Italian term fortissimo that is attached to it. Okay, so go ahead and review all of that terminology and symbols for that last exercise on that page. That's all I have for you today, everybody. We will see you next time. Have a good one.